So I've been receiving a lot of messages lately from people who want to work, want to get things done, want to use this time during the pandemic to make headway on the thing that they've been wanting to do for the longest time. But as you know, we are living in an unprecedented time right now where it's very easy to lose that motivation. We have a lot of things happening, from the crisis around the world to our election in the US and a number of other things. It's easy to get bogged down and lose energy. And today we're going to talk about 7 specific things that we can do, that we can think about, that we can use to our advantage to stay motivated and to keep going even when we don't want to. Hey Team Flynn, thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Pat Flynn, here to help you make more money, save more time, and help more people too. If you're watching the live stream, say hello to your friends here. Thanks so much for joining me live. Many of you every single morning here. This is day 159 straight. And if you happen to be watching the replay, you know what to do. Hashtag Team Replay in the comment section below. We got a lot to talk about today, a lot of things to uncover. Hopefully this will be a great start to your week. Thanks for joining me and welcome to the Income Stream.
This is the Income Stream to help you achieve your dream, all while we keep it clean. This is the Income Stream. It's the kind of show where you can come and go, but then you leave inspired with no fee required. The Income Stream with Pat Flynn.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome in. We got Bernard in the house. Hello. Tamara, welcome in. Thanks for joining us. 159 days straight. Absolutely. So I can speak to this idea of motivation because, hey, I've been motivated to continue this even on days where I hadn't been wanting to get up and keep going. There's been a few of those days, especially in the last few weeks. However, you are number one for me. You help me get up. You help me stay on par and on focus to help you and serve you. And we're going to talk about a number of different things that we can do today to keep ourselves motivated. This is a big topic because even if you have the perfect plan, even if you have really, really great goals and they're measurable and they are reachable and tangible, if you don't have that motivation, well, then this is kind of all for nothing, right? And these are strategies, these are tips, these are principles, these are motivations that you can take with you, put in your holster so that the next time you feel deflated, you can in fact pull out this and be able to continue moving forward. This is so important. So there's a big world out there. There's a lot of people who need you, and immediate people in your life and people around the world online who would love for you to continue to stay motivated to do what you're doing. There's obviously a lot of things that can demotivate us. There's a lot of internal things based on our past that can demotivate us, from our perfectionism, which can then lead to procrastination, of course. There's the idea of competition and how do I compete with other people. There's this idea of not getting results soon enough. If you've ever been in a place where you've just not felt like doing work, let me know in the chat right now with maybe an emoji or something. Just say yes if that is indeed you. This is something that we all deal with. You are not alone. If you're not feeling motivated, it's all good, because this is a part of the natural process of, number one, life, but number two, especially being an entrepreneur, where a lot of times every day is different and we don't necessarily know how things are going to go. We can have a plan. Things may or may not go according to plan. And it's up to us to determine how to use those failures, those mistakes as lessons moving forward so that we can keep going and have that perseverance and have that grit. So you too can go 159 days straight if you wanted to, but I don't know if I would necessarily recommend that. But it's definitely been a very, very fun thing for me to do. And just to show up every day because you're there and you are a part of this too. So we're going to go over, again, 7 different things. We're going to start with number 7. Number 7, and this is a big thing that keeps myself motivated too, and there's been a lot of literature about this as well. There's a book out there, in fact, authored by a man named Charles Duhigg. And this book is called The Power of Habit. And in this book, The Power of Habit, there is a chapter about the small, quick wins. Now, you've heard me talk about small, quick wins perhaps in the past when talking about how to motivate your audience to want to subscribe, to want to continue to come back to you, to take action and move forward. But we often don't think about the small wins for ourselves. And a lot of times as entrepreneurs, we have these giant goals, right? Like we have these big visions and these big things that we want to implement. But unless we celebrate the micro wins, unless we chop down that big goal into small little goals that we could celebrate along the way, it's going to be very difficult to progress forward, especially if it's more of a long-term situation, right? So the first strategy, or number 7 here to stay motivated, is to celebrate the micro wins. Even if you're just starting out, the fact that, hey, you got your email service provider set up, you have 0 email subscribers right now, you just started, but hey, you got it set up, that is a win. Let's celebrate that and move forward. And I think celebration is another thing that we entrepreneurs struggle with, especially those who have experienced some success. I don't know about you, but I'm definitely in the camp of, and maybe this is my Enneagram number 3, but when I am succeeding, I'm already thinking about the next thing. I sometimes don't take the time to celebrate and remember the journey or how far I've come or what it was like just a week ago, not having the thing that I accomplished. And, yes, I'm partly motivated and I want to get going, and some of those small micro wins will motivate you to move forward rather quickly. But I will say that if you don't take the time to celebrate, it's going to be a big struggle. So chat, let me know if you've ever fallen in that trap similar to me, where you're working on stuff, you actually do succeed, but then you skip over the celebration part. We don't want to do that, because we need to train our brain to get excited. This is us taking psychology and physiology into our own hands here, where we can sort of train that reptilian brain of ours to continue to want to get to that next reward and that next reward and that next reward, if that makes sense, right? So we need to celebrate those micro wins. And chat, if you're here live with me now, I would love for us to celebrate together. What was the latest micro win that you'd love to share with everybody here? I'm going to give you a shout out and point out a few members here. And a big thanks to all the members here, the official members and the non-official members, everybody here. Thank you so much for, again, joining me. This is a micro win that I celebrate every single day. After this live stream is over, I just look and I say, wow, there was hundreds of people who watched live. And then I look at yesterday's video and then I see there's thousands of people who have watched the replays. That's a micro win for me. And I look at that every single day and I celebrate the fact that, and I'm grateful for the idea of the fact that, hey, this happened. This happened. That's a big win. Even if nothing else happens, this is why I love putting it in the morning. Even if nothing else happens, if I literally lay outside and get some sun and do nothing for the rest of the day, I mean, that's a win in and of itself. But I'd still at least go, hey, you know what? I still did a live stream this morning and I still am able to celebrate, which is cool. Manny just started a podcast today. Nice job, Manny. That's so dope. Congratulations. Spanish and Go, welcome in. Thanks for being here today. I got featured in LinkedIn Expert Podcast channel yesterday, says Elton. Fantastic. That's amazing. I love that. This is what I habitually do, says Grandma Goody. Thank you for sharing this. Do you value the small wins? My micro win was to reach 97 subscribers on my YouTube, way to 100 by 9/2. So you're almost there. Just 3 more subs. You got this. I got approved for TikTok monetization, says Remodel Media. Awesome. I love that. Micro win yesterday, getting a member purchased to be installed today by them. So, by them, to get it installed by them. That's great. A member is a cool membership platform. I love that. Let's do one more maybe. Paximus. I'm seeing my channel grow the right way through community, and it's climbing slowly but surely. And it's because I have the mindset of serving. Awesome. I love that. There's one more here that I want to celebrate from Miss Boyce. Hello, Pathlin. My micro win was recently I received over 200 downloads of my podcast. I love that. And, one thing that I want to do here on the show, perhaps, is at the start of each episode, just really quick, even maybe while the intro is going, to have you all share your wins every single day, right? I'm here every day, at least for the time being. And I think that maybe we can take advantage of the platform that I'm creating here for you to be able to celebrate not just for yourself and to kind of remind yourself of those micro wins. Again, we often skip over that, but to have a platform and maybe I can sort of be that person to kind of remind you every morning if you'd like to pop in. Also a strategy for me to hopefully help you come in every morning. I think that'd be a great way to start the show. It's how I start my day, right? I wake up, I'm in my 5-minute journal. It's right at my night desk morning desk, I guess you can call it. And I write down the 3 things that I'm grateful for every single day. And it's a strategy that I use that has definitely helped motivate me and to focus on those micro wins as well. Because, hey, even if I have a quote unquote a bad day, I still have those things to be grateful for too. So yeah, let's start the show with that. Let's bake that into the habits that we create here on the income stream. I love that. Thank you. That was not planned. So I love this. Okay, let's focus on now number 6. We talked about number 7, celebrating the micro wins. Number 6, thinking about the reward on the other end. And this is a big one, right? For me, this is my biggest motivation. What is the reward on the other end? I am very much, and this is, and again, all these tips, all these things that we're talking about may or may not be relevant to everyone, and not each of them are going to be relevant to you. But for me, a big part of what motivates me is the reward on the other end. Thinking about what the hard work that I do now, the unmotivating work that I do now, what's going to be on the other side of that? What can I look forward to that this work will essentially unlock for me? And there's many different levels to this, right? There's the idea of, well, okay, once I get through this hard work, well, then I will have this podcast up, or I will have this blog post done and I can put it out there, right? Thinking about the sort of more immediate what's on the other end is really cool too. But I also think about the reward for myself, right? So after this, hard work session that I'm going to do, after this workshop that I do tomorrow. In fact, there is a workshop tomorrow. We're going to be talking about SPI Pro, and I don't know if you saw the email, but we are actually going to be revealing a lot of what we did and what we wish we had done differently and stuff for SPI Pro, and that's a completely free workshop. I'll pop a link in Twitter later today so you can register if you haven't already. I think we have thousands of people signed up for that, so that should be really fun. Anyway, I think about the reward in terms of, okay, after this work session, I get to go play with my kids, or I'm going to be streaming later today on Fortnite. So, hey, I'm going to crush my meetings today. I'm going to crush the work I have to do. I have to write a few emails this morning. And then you know what? At 2 p.m. Pacific today, I'm going to be live on Twitch with my kids, and I'm going to be streaming Fortnite. And that's really fun to me, and that's a reward that I use. So there's a number of different ways to stack rewards in your favor. The micro wins is a part of that because it almost allows you to celebrate, and that's a reward as well. But more tangibly, even if it's literally, hey, after I finish this stuff, I can go on a 15-minute walk. That's great. But also thinking about the reward of, okay, after this is complete, what is now unlocked for me in the next stage? Right? And if you've heard me talk about just-in-time learning, if you've heard me talk about, just focusing on that one next goal, that one next priority, moving forward beyond that is really exciting to me, right? Hey, if I crush this next step in this list of things I have to do, well, awesome. Then I get to, and I have the ability to move on to the next step. And that's exciting to me, right? Getting motivated by, well, what's coming next? But only allowing myself to get motivated after I finish this one, right? If that makes sense. Cool. Awesome. The webinar for the workshop, by the way, is going to be on Zoom, so it's not going to be on Demio. Pat Flynn, any recommendations for finding an affordable lawyer? Isn't that kind of an oxymoron? Affordable lawyer? I'm just kidding. Consult the blind guy. There are probably people that that you can get recommendations from. Affordable lawyer, I mean, you might want to find some help on Upwork. I have gotten some legal help on Upwork for some minor things like contracts and whatnot that I needed to make sure I needed some just second eyeballs on. So Upwork could be great. There's a lot of people who do legal stuff there. Heart T Ranch, sorry I'm late. It's all good. You're here, and I appreciate you for that. Thank you. Okay, so we talked about number 7, micro wins, celebrating those small achievements, breaking down those big goals into smaller ones that we can get motivated by. And I would want to ask you as well, and this is just for you internally, what is your next achievement that you're going to have, or what's that next goal on your priority list? Number 6 is the reward on the other end. In a micro sense, hey, after I finish my work here, or after this time block of period where I'm going to be focused and really, really, really working hard, I get to go on a 1-hour break and spend some time with the family out in the living room, or I get to then game with the kids later. Whatever your form of motivation and reward is, we are as a just species motivated by reward. And oftentimes when we are just so hunkered down in our business, we just see what's hard right in front of us. And we're not looking forward to, okay, well, after I finish this, this is what's coming, right? On the micro and the macro level too. All right, number 5. And this is another big one for me. And again, a lot of these things play on just psychology and human nature, but this is gamification. Gamification. If you've read the Atomic Habit book, right? Atomic Habits by James Clear, you'll know that gamification is essentially sort of a theme within his book in the sense that, we're creating streaks, we're creating habits that we will continue to get motivated by, right? A classic example of this is when I was learning how to eat well. In fact, this was after I had a kid. I was putting on a lot of weight, and I found somebody who gave me some really great advice. His name is Joel Runyon from Impossible. and he's sort of an ultra marathoner, ultra runner. And I just was having a conversation. In fact, we had a lunch together once in San Diego. This was, I think, nearly 10 years ago. And he was like, I was like, how do you get motivated to eat well? Because I don't know, some of this stuff doesn't taste all that great. And he's like, well, yeah, that's because your brain is just really, really craving sugar and carbohydrates. And, you know, when you don't have that, your brain almost tells you like, yeah, these things taste bad, so you can have more of this stuff. Like, I promise it will taste better. And I was like, okay, that's cool. But I was like, okay, but how do we get started with this? And he's like, well, I play a game with myself. I try to see in a week how many pounds of broccoli I can eat. I just make a game about it. And I was like, wow, that's really fun because I like games. I'm motivated by games. I like the idea of actually trying to challenge myself, right? And that's one thing that I do as well. So on the income stream, for example, I try to challenge myself. How can I become a better storyteller today than yesterday? Or I try to challenge myself. How can I make the engaged audience more engaged this time, right? How can we get more likes this time than the last time? That's a clue. Give me a thumbs up if you haven't already. And I think that the streaks, just like here on like, I can't stop this now. I'm 159 days into it. I mean, how many of you have an Apple Watch? You know, the Apple Watch where you sort of like fill out the rings. I know so many people who are absolutely obsessed and will do everything they can to fill out those rings, right? It's just a little game that one plays with themselves to just try and fill out those rings, because what happens? You don't want to break those streaks, right? We love the sort of patterns, and we love that when we see that we are actually achieving things, and when you can create a game about that, that can work out really well. And this is why consistency is really key, because it allows you to sort of play these sort of games with yourself. Gamification is a huge motivator, and this is something that we're looking to put into SPI Pro, in fact, to continue to encourage people to keep coming back. Now, I don't know if you've read the book Hooked by Nir Eyal, E-Y-A-L, Hooked. It's a great book, but it also shows that, especially when you're creating other communities and other apps, for example, gamification can actually be somewhat evil in a way that, you know, you can build something like Facebook and distract the entire world for hours. You can put things into apps that encourage people to keep coming back, and then they get distracted. So gamification for positivity is really what we're trying to focus on. So yeah, those rings are an obsession. So how might you create your own version of rings, like the Apple rings? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, there is sort of a way for people on the Apple ecosystem who have a watch to do enough movement, to do enough rest, to do enough drinking water. I don't even know what's on those rings. But to complete them every day, and they get like a little just, yay, you did it. And then it starts over the next day. And then you have a streak. Like, you've done it for 30 days straight. You've done it for 100 days straight. I've done the income stream for 159 days straight. And that's definitely motivating for me, because I don't want to break that streak. So what streaks are you creating for yourself? I think another great way to think about this, and another sort of angle to this, is how can you create a streak with, not in your business, but in your personal life, whether it's forming habits to work out every day and trying to create a streak, and, you know, even having some visuals, just like the rings, to go along with that, or having the streak of, hey, every day I'm going to read a story to my kids, right? That can be a streak as well. Anything cameras? Hey, Pat Flynn, sorry I'm late. What'd I miss? All good. I'm going to be going over a recap of the 7 things that I'm offering today for motivating you to keep moving forward even when you don't want to. Awesome. Consistent long-term in-time learning until someone really needs their taxes wrapped up, says Lex CPA. Jonathan says, I started a 90-day challenge, 30 pieces of content in the first 30 days, 10 in the second, and 4 in the last. Goal to post more in-depth and better content. I love that. So you're sort of getting your wheels going to start, and then when you sort of slow down a little bit, you can go deeper with that content, and you'll have already gotten those webs out of your fingers and your brain to start to create, because that just getting started is really hard too. How to build habit-forming products by Nir Eyal. Yep, for sure. So far, I've been uploading 1 video per week on YouTube. Nice boost. I like that. Bernard says, I have customers here. I will be back later. No worries. You got to take care of what you got to take care of. Awesome. Okay, so we've talked about 3 things so far. 7. Hey, Paximus, need to leave early. Hate to miss team replay. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you, Paximus, for the super chat. Not required. You all should just keep your money, but if you want to contribute, you can do that in a couple ways. The super chats, just like what Paximus just did there. And also you become a member. If you're not a member, you can become a member and have the ability to now have some special emojis and things like that. Plus all the income from both the memberships and the super chats here all go to this month, PolarisProject.org, which is helping to put a stop to human trafficking. Cool. The Roamer says, I was on a streak of showing up Monday to Friday here, but last week was a loss, but still very much in the habit of showing up here. And yes, and one final tip from the book Atomic Habits is sometimes this gamification in the streaking can actually demotivate you, because if you were to miss one, and this is what happens, right? This is what happens when we try to have a streak at the beginning of the year and we're trying to work out, right? It's like, okay, I'm going to go to the gym 7 days a week. And then it's like, oh man, I missed one day. Everything's ruined. And then you fall off the wagon. And then all of a sudden you're staying up late having Cheetos and popcorn watching your favorite Netflix show. And it just kind of, you fall off the rails. I love the rule that James in his book, Atomic Habits, says, if you just miss a day and you mess up in your streak, just don't let it happen twice. And don't make a big deal about it. Just keep going, right? And I love that. So if you happen to be doing streaks, and honestly, if I were to, like, for example, oversleep and just miss the income stream, I mean, I'd probably just go live at that moment just so I don't miss it, and it would be later. But honestly, even if I miss an entire day, I'm gonna be like, you know what? Hey, we're just gonna keep going. I'm just not gonna let myself miss 2 days in a row, right? I'm not gonna let myself miss 2 days in a row. Epic. Okay, so now let's talk about number 4. And this is, we talked about reward, right? And this has something to do with it a little bit, but we've started with number 7, micro wins. Number 6, what's on the other side, your reward. Number 5, gamification, creating streaks, those sorts of things, comparing yourself to your earlier self to trying to get better and better each time. Number 4 is just, in general, your major why, right? A reward might be like, oh, I get to kind of sit on the balcony later this evening with my wife and have a lemonade or a dragonade. I don't know if you've seen my Instagram, but thanks to Kevin from Epic Gardens. By the way, he and I met yesterday, and he's super cool. He's just as nice in real life as he is in his YouTube channel, as everybody should be, right? Everybody should be authentic, and he's completely authentic. And he's half Filipino, I'm half Filipino myself. In a very Filipino way, we exchanged goods. I had some podcasting gear that I wanted to give to him because he was in need of help. And he was like, oh, let me get some dragon fruit for you. And it's like a very Filipino thing. And it's in many other cultures too, but like very Filipino too, like at the potluck to just before you leave, literally give you like an army's worth of food before you leave with paper plates and like tinfoil on top of it. It's just super funny how in our culture we do that. Anyway, he gave us some dragon fruits and we made dragonade yesterday, which was super dope. And it's like a dragon fruit lemonade, and the kids got involved, and it was delicious. It's like girly looking pink drink, but it was delicious. I cannot wait to have some more later today. And big thanks to Kevin for being awesome and for just having a chat with me yesterday. He's super smart. Would love to invite him on the podcast, in fact, and even here on the YouTube channel. And we were talking about collaborations. Remember last week we talked about collaborations? That came up just naturally, right? It wasn't like, hey Kevin, I was wondering if you'd like to collab on a video someday. It was just like, yeah, we should do something together sometime. Oh yeah, that'd be cool. Like, I know you're putting out this garden. Like he even suggested it when I just mentioned it in that way, which was pretty cool. So anyway, it's so cool that he's in San Diego, and we're gonna be having some more chats later on. So I think that'd be fun. Dragon fruit for the win. And I just learned that dragon fruit comes from a cactus, and they easily propagate. So we might grow some in our yard too. We'll see what happens. But anyway, going back to your why. This is number 4. We have 3 left after this, but your big why. Why is it that you are working so hard? Why did you get started in this in the first place? Not like, hey, I'm going to sit in the porch and drink a dragonade later today, but hey, because I want to be a great example for my kids, because I want to provide financial security in my life, because I want to retire at a much earlier age than 65. Whatever your why is, it's really important. And beyond that, don't forget about the mission that you have as an entrepreneur. You should absolutely have, if you've read, where is it? If you've read this book here, The Vision Driven Leader by Michael Hyatt, highly recommended. We've been reading this in SPI Pro. I even have some like tabs in there for some special moments in there. But really talking about, okay, well, what's your vision here? And then if you have a team especially, how can you get your team involved and supporting that vision too? So that way together, you can kind of make some big dents in the world, and that's so key. So your why is going to be really key, and there's really no more to talk about because you have to be intimate with yourself about your own why. And if there's anybody else in your world that your why relates to, share this why with them. It might be your team, it might be your spouse, it might be even your kids. I've talked about my business with my kids quite often. In fact, I love to get them involved in knowing what I do and why I do it. When I used to speak a lot, I would tell them where I'm going and why and who's going to be there. And so that way they can even support it and understand why I'm leaving, right? When my dad used to go on business trips, he would be gone for like weeks at a time. He worked for the government and he would also go to the Pentagon quite a bit. And I just he'd be like, I'm out. And I'm like, okay, I miss you, but bring back those cookies you always bring from Washington, which he would always bring back these amazing cookies. But work equals remove parents from me. Versus now it's like, hey, work is together, something that we can actually both get involved in. And they are supporting me by being supportive of me because I've been open and honest about it. And anyway, they're a part of my why, which is why I involve them in these decisions and what I do. So think about your why and what it is, and have yourself easy access to those reminders. Thankfully, my why reminders run around the house all day, and we're in a pandemic now, and they're not even going to school physically. We start school virtually in I think, September 2nd. So that's coming up very soon. But anyway, they're still going to be at home, and they're my little motivators too. So hey, y'all, thank you so much for being here, and we are more than halfway through now, or exactly halfway through, in fact. And thank you for the thumbs up, by the way. Thank you for spending your Monday here with me. Hopefully this is somewhat motivating and I can help you move forward so that in the next half hour after we're done here, after the chat, you can get motivated, you can get excited about working on your next steps. And I have 3 more strategies, motivators, principles for you to think about when it comes to getting motivated and keeping going even when you don't want to, right? And that's the trick, because we each go through this phase, right? I call it the entrepreneurial bug. I call it the honeymoon period of starting a business, right? It's like very exciting and motivating at the start. And I don't know, 3-6 months in, it's the hard parts now, right? We've already designed the logo. We've gotten the podcast up and running, and we've gotten our 7 episodes in, but then it comes that time again to hit that brick wall, to go, oh my gosh, like, is this really what I want to continue to do? Am I getting results yet that are worth it? And it's those of us who persevere, who get through that, I don't know, dip, if you want to call it that are going to succeed. And we don't want to have that work and that initial excitement go to waste, right? So it's really important to understand that we are going to be facing these tough times. You're going to get to the point that you're not going to want to do what it is that you're doing anymore. And we have to really understand what is it that's going to motivate us through that before we make the decision, putting all these elements into place before we make the decision that, like, you know what? I'm out, I'm done with this, I'm gonna move on to something else. Because oftentimes that's what we do, just sort of on a whim, because we get these endorphins and we get that entrepreneurial bug and we wanna go back to that fun, exciting honeymoon period now with a new business idea, right? But if we don't follow through, if we don't persevere, then none of these business ideas, none of these things that we're working on are going to actually provide dragon fruit for us, if that makes sense. So we need to find these things. We need to find these motivations, if that makes sense. Love this. I'm kind of in this phase right now. Instead of uploading every week, it's about once every other week, right? I love that. Cooking with a little spice. And I think that even though you might be reducing the consistency, but you're still staying consistent, you're reducing the frequency, now you can go even a little bit deeper into it. Now you can put even more time and effort into it. Now you can even experiment on a more deeper level, cooking with a little spice with some of these new videos that you might be coming out with, which is cool. Now you can use this to your advantage. Hey, I'm not coming out with a video every week. Therefore, I can actually put a little bit more into the videos that I do come out with. And it's funny because I know a lot of YouTubers who just publish once a month or even more time in between videos, and they're doing really well. I think of people like Mark Rober from Mark Rober, the glitter bomb guy, right? But he goes really in depth with his videos, and he really focuses on the topic and the video itself and the science behind it, and he makes it fun and exciting. So anyway, awesome. Let's keep going. This is so good, Pat Flynn. I appreciate you. I appreciate you too, Just Samson. Bruh. Thank you so much. Okay, next, let's focus on what to do when you're not motivated and you know that you have some work to do. And I want to quote a book title from a woman named Mel Robbins. If you know the title of this book and where I'm going, let me know in the chat. We'll see who might get it first. But what is the name of this book and a strategy that will help you just do what it is that you need to do, even when you don't want to, right? Anybody know this book? And as we wait for somebody to answer this, because it's a very popular book, we can understand that this is a very simple thing to do, and it's a strategy that we can implement very easily, and it's absolutely free to do. The messy middle? No, not quite the messy middle. I know that one as well. But if I don't get in the next 5 seconds, hint, hint, we are going to reveal that answer. And there you go, Mandy. Mandy got it. The 5-second rule. The 5-second rule. No, this isn't when you drop a piece of food, you can have 5 seconds to be able to put it back in your mouth. In fact, the Mythbusters debunked that. As soon as the food hits the ground, bacteria, etc., like, don't eat the food after it hits the ground, kids, okay? But what I mean is the 5-second rule by Mel Robbins, which basically states this. Hey, if you are just not motivated to do something that you know you need to do and you know you're going to do it anyway, just get started with it. And in fact, to help you, much like how a Falcon 9 rocket has a countdown timer, you can create a countdown timer for yourself too. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. And then you do it, right? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Boom. And then you can do the thing, right? Sorry to surprise some of you. But anyway, I just want to get you off the edge of your seats there because I was getting a little bit low in volume, and boom, I want to excite you and get you reignited, right? Reignited to launch again, right? And this is what the 5-second rule is all about. It's just literally like, first of all, it just amazes me that there's like a book, it's called the 5-second rule, and you basically can understand it in a sentence. Hey, when you're not motivated to do something you know you need to do, just count down from 5 and do it. Like, that could literally be the entire book. But of course, Mel does a great job of telling stories about that, unlocking this for us. And I've been practicing this. In fact, this is what I do in the morning. Our alarm goes off, and I go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then I'm up, right? And then I'm just there. And when I'm at conferences and I want to meet somebody, I don't get in my own way. I go, okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hey, my name's Pat Flynn. What's your name? Oh, you have a name tag. Oh, sorry. And then it gets awkward. No, I'm just kidding. That's not what happens. That's what I think is going to happen, right? I get in my own way psychologically, and the less time I give myself to psych myself out of something, the more likely it is that I'm going to be, okay. And it's funny because we just kind of just need to get started, right? And it's so simple. It just surprises me how a lot of these very popular New York Times bestselling books that sell hundreds of thousands of copies are all about something very simple. Right? There's another book, I can't remember the name, but I think it's called Make Your Bed or something like that. It was from a somebody who worked who was in the Navy, who when they are in the Navy or in any sort of military outfit, they are asked to make the bed in the morning, and it's just sort of a ritual that becomes something that starts these sense of accomplishment every single day. Right? So just make your bed in the morning. You're already going to start off the day with accomplishing something, and when I get up, April's still in bed, so I can't kick her out and make the bed. So that's her role when we start the day. And for me, it's getting the kids ready, feeding them breakfast, etc. Anyway, these simple things are the things that can help us, right? And this just speaks to the idea of like, hey, like, let's just keep it simple in general, right? Oftentimes, especially we entrepreneurs, we try to find the most complicated route to do something. Why can't we just make things easier? And Tim Ferriss once told me, hey, if you're just doing anything, just like, if this were easy, what would it look like? Just do it that way, right? Oh, just count down from 5 and do it? Yeah. Okay. Sure. Let's do it. So, yeah, if you've used the 5-second rule, give us an example, because I think a lot of people may benefit from your example. I use it to get up in the morning before I go live here, literally before I go live on the income stream. Okay, guys, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, boom. The whole idea here is to just start, right? Because when you get started and you're in it, it's just going. It's physics. An object at rest tends to stay at rest, and an object in motion tends to stay in motion. And then it's about acceleration and speeding up and then going from there. But you can't do that. You can't improve what you haven't started yet. So let's get started. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. All right, number 2. We've talked about micro wins first, micro wins and small achievements, celebrating those. That's number 7. Number 6, we talked about what's on the other end, the reward that you are sort of working toward, whether in a micro level for the end of the day or the long term after the end of a project. Number 5, gamification. So having some sort of streak and ability for you to just build this habit. Number 4, your why, your big why. What is it that motivated you to even go down this route in the first place? Who is this for beyond you? That's number 4. Number 3, we talked about the 5-second rule from Mel Robbins. Like, let's just get started, right? Whoa, there's a giant 1 on the screen. 1. You're going to make mistakes, and you just keep going, just like that. Number 2, the fact that, here's a big number 2, and then number 1. Excuse me. Is that we have the ability to do these things while others do not. This is a privilege that we can even think about starting a business, that we have access to the internet and to communities and to each other and to information to be able to better our own lives. A lot of people around the world do not have access to that. And this is something that I think about quite a bit, because when I'm in those moments of stress, when I'm in those moments of feeling deflated, when I'm in those moments of demotivation, I'm like, do I really have the right to complain right now when there are other people around the world who absolutely cannot even fathom going online and connecting with people, or having the ability or the equipment to go live every day on the income stream, or to, create a workshop that can help a number of people and bring people into the brand, right? So I think that this idea of the fact that we have this privilege and that we don't want to have it go to waste. We want to almost like, hey, we have this amazing food on our plate. Let's enjoy it. Let's be grateful for it. There are some people in this world who don't have access to that. And I think that this is a very, very big thing for a lot of us, especially those of us who are very, very inclined to think about others first. And that's many of you. I seem to attract a lot of people who are in a very similar vein. This is very motivating, because it's like, am I really going to allow myself to get in my own way, to complain here, to get frustrated about this thing? And again, frustration is totally okay. We need that release on that pressure valve. But when that's all we're focused on, and we don't get back into work because we're not feeling it right now, it's like, some people can't feel anything right now. And we have this amazing privilege and this ability to create. And many times I think about those people, and it's like, okay, well, this is why I'm doing this. The ability to be on the other end of these challenges, if that makes sense, right? This is why I stepped up in March, because in March, that's when everything started. And that's when a lot of people started to get laid off. And there are millions of people in the US and around the world who don't have jobs anymore. And I'm now on the other end of this. And this is a privilege for me to be on the other end. And I need to share this information. I need to pay it forward. I need to keep going, right? I need to keep going. This is why, as Kat says, it's so important to have a system and have self-compassion even on the days you don't feel like it. 100% agree, Kat. Thank you so much for them. And pop this up here so everybody can read it. Thank you. So thank you for the thumbs ups, by the way. We're going to get to 100 very shortly here. I just need 13 more, which is pretty cool. Thank you so much. Daryl in the house. What's up, Daryl? Great to see you. I've been watching on the TV due to computer issues. Couldn't comment till now, but wanted to say good morning. Good morning to you, Daryl. Thank you for showing up today and for being here. We got a super chat coming in from Hey Archer. Good morning, Team Flynn, Team Replay. Missing you here live, brother, and it's okay. And I'm glad you can catch the replays. I know you're going live. You have a lot of work to do as well, so I appreciate you for that. Day 8, Team No Coffee. Michael, that's blasphemy in my opinion. You got to have your coffee. No, you do you. You got to do you. Very, very thankful that y'all feel me on number 2 here. The privilege that we have to do what we do, and the idea that there are others out there who just can't even think about doing these things. We need to step up and take advantage of what we do have in front of us. So thank you so much. We're at 99 likes, which is pretty darn amazing. Thank you so much. All right, and number 1, and this is where a lot of us can get motivation, and we happen to be in the right spot for this right now. Number 1. Big fat 1 finally makes sense now. And we're at 101 likes now, so thank you for that. Inspiration from others. We can get motivated by others. Now, let me talk about the negative side of this first. And there is negative side of this because oftentimes we can see what other people are doing. And when we see others succeed, we can often feel deflated ourselves. We play that comparison game, the very dangerous version of the comparison game. And I just want to speak to this a little bit because this is something that completely can derail us, especially if two people, for example, started at the same time in the same niche, and then one just sort of outshines the other. And of course, it's going to make that other person feel a little bad. And it's going to make them feel like maybe they're not good enough or they weren't meant to be going down this route. And this other person who's sort of, skyrocketing their success, who is now being seen even more, who's getting invited into interviews and being mentioned all the time and now has their own book. It's like, why not me? And that kind of comparison game is a very dangerous game to play because, number one, we're not comparing two exactly the same people. We're looking and we're using comparison bias to go, well, here's why them and not me, even though we're not comparing the same things. Here's where we need to compare. And many of you who have been here before have heard me say this before, and I know it sounds like a broken record, but this is what we need to do. We need to compare ourselves to the earlier version of ourselves, to ourselves yesterday, to ourselves last week, to ourselves last month, to ourselves last year. That's the kind of comparison game that we need to play. And when we focus on that, we can continue to learn to grow. We can continue to learn from our own mistakes. That said, at the same time, it's still important to get motivation and inspiration from others. And a very, very clear example of this, a life-changing example of this, came in 2008. So I was listening to a podcast called Internet Business Mastery. This was like my show. I listened to it 2 times, 3 times a day. And they had hundreds of episodes. I burned through them in just a couple weeks. Jason and Jeremy were the hosts, and they literally became my best friends. They were people, however, who I have never met before, right? I've never met them before, but because they were showing up for me, I was able to connect with them, which was really great. So they were motivated to show up and be consistent, and that helped me for sure. But there was one episode in particular that I listened to with a guy that they interviewed named Cornelius Fitchner, right? Cornelius Fitchner, who was from PM exam. He helped people pass the project management exam. And when I saw, or actually heard that episode, and Cornelius taking knowledge that he had about the project management exam and then putting it into his space online and building a 6-figure business doing so, that was hugely motivating for me because I saw an example of somebody who had just already paved the way. Now, I was helping people pass the LEED exam, LEED, Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design, but I was going to use Cornelius as my motivator, somebody who was where I wanted to be, somebody who had already took that machete and gone through the tough weeds in that forest to carve a path for others. And so I listened to that episode 5 or 6 times, and I started to consider, how can I pave my own path here in this space following Cornelius's lead? So finding other people who maybe even aren't the stars of the show, who aren't necessarily the people who write the books or who even host the podcast, but somebody who has paved that path before you. And you can then adopt that strategy to your own style, which is exactly what I did. He was helping people at the PM exam. He was creating practice exams for his people to build his email list. That's what I started doing. He started writing articles online, showing a lot of tips and getting involved in forums. That's what I did too. So finding somebody else who is where you want to be, especially those who are even just a couple steps ahead of you, they're even more accessible in my opinion, right? And Cornelius, who was also a member of Internet Business Mastery and a fan of the show, he and I connected and he was so helpful. And I think you can find a lot of help out there in places that you can be surprised about. In fact, there's a lot of people, myself included, who want to help as many people as possible, who are more than open to sharing. There's a lot of people who are very secretive of their stuff, and that's fine too, but you're going to find a lot of the helpers out there, especially in times of crisis. That's a Mr. Rogers quote, I believe. So finding somebody who's already paved the path is really cool. If you can find somebody, this is the sort of part 2 of inspiration from others, is if you can find a person who you can directly connect with, whether it's somebody at your level or even a coach or a mentor, having somebody hold you accountable to what you do, a partner, a friend, a colleague, in the same level as you, or even a person that maybe you even pay, or you just imagine that they are your mentor, maybe more virtually. Maybe you have conversations with them every single week. I have a coach myself, a mentor, who I connect with every single week on Tuesday at 2:30 p.m. Pacific. And he is somebody who holds me accountable to the work that I say I'm going to do. I have people in my mastermind groups every day who on Monday, I meet with a mastermind group at 10 a.m. And then on Wednesday, I meet with another mastermind group at 8:30 a.m., which is why the Wednesday streams here start a little bit early. They hold me accountable to the work that I say I'm going to do. My wife holds me accountable to the things that I say I'm going to do with regards to my family, right? So getting motivated by others and having them know what I'm doing and having them be somebody who I could potentially let down. And that's the big motivator for me is I'm going to say I'm going to do something and I'm going to feel terrible if I don't follow through. And I need that. That's something I personally need. You might not need that. You might be so disciplined and be able to do things on your own without any of that outside help. But for me, I absolutely need that. And for you, we've talked about 7 different things here, including this last one here, which is accountability and inspiration from others. And some of them may not be relevant for you. But we all, much like how when we consider diets, one person's diet that works for them is not going to work for us necessarily. It may not work for us, but you can pick and choose from what works for others and try to develop your own style of motivation too. And for me, a lot of that is direct connection to who exactly I'm focused on helping. That's a direct connection to my family, right? Talk to my kids. And it's a direct connection to you too. This is why, part of the reason why I show up every day, because I can chat with you and I can be reminded every single day that there are people like you out there who are holding me accountable. There's people in my mastermind groups who I have a little bit more closer relationship with, who are also knowing me and have known my journey throughout the years and can keep me on task. And if I happen to get off task or go a direction that isn't seemingly me, they will let me know about it. And that's the idea of a mastermind group. If you haven't seen the income stream about mastermind groups, I'd highly recommend you check that out. So let's recap all of these, and this is perfect timing. Grandma Goody, can you recap, please? Yes, absolutely. So number 7, 5 + 2 is 7. Number 7, focusing on the micro wins. So you have these big goals. Let's chop them up into smaller goals, and let's have them be small achievements that we do celebrate over time. Even the small wins, even, I'm going to celebrate the fact that we are almost at 160 streams. Tomorrow's day 160, and that's a nice round number. We celebrated today. We had a good conversation about motivation. Hopefully this motivates you moving forward. Let me know if it does. And we can celebrate that, right? And we can move on and continue to train our brain to celebrate these small wins. Therefore, training our brains to keep moving forward so that we can unlock those small wins every single time. Number 6, the reward on the other end. What are we doing even on a micro level? Hey, after I finish my work today, I'm going to be streaming with my kids. That's something I think about. Hey, I get to cook dinner today with my family and sit down outside while the sun is still out. And although it's blazing hot around the evenings, around dinner time, it's really nice outside. And I'm excited to do that. So I'm going to crush my work today so I can have that and celebrate that and have clear mind when I'm with my family later today. Or on the macro level, hey, a reward for completing this online course video production is the fact that I will now have an online course that can be an asset that can continue to work for me again and again and again. Number 5, gamification, creating a game or creating streaks with relation to the work that you do. How are you making incremental improvements over time, and how can you perhaps make a game about it, right? Hey, I'm going to eat more broccoli this week than I did last week. Or hey, I'm going to continue this streak like the rings on my Apple Watch that I'm going to show up and start writing every day so that come November when NaNoWriMo comes, I can write my book, right? And that's exactly what I'm going to be doing this November is writing my next book. Number 4, thinking about your overall why, your big why. Where is it that you want to end up in 5 years? Where are the motivations for you? Is it your family? Is it your kids? Is it finances? Is it health, fitness, etc.? What are those big key motivations for you? If you've taken part in Smart from Scratch or Will It Fly, you'll know about the airport test. I'd highly recommend taking that. In fact, if you haven't yet done so, you could download for free my course. It's $249 retail price. It's free during the pandemic. Didn't think it was going to go on for this long, but we've still remained it free. We've given away over $3.5 million worth of that course. If you go to smartpassiveincome.com/toolkit, you'll see Smart from Scratch there. And that's helped tens of thousands of people now get started and get motivated to start their stuff. Number 3, so that was your why. Number 4. Number 3 in the countdown is to just start, right? The 5-second rule. One way to get motivated is to not allow yourself to get demotivated, right? So 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. right? And then you're ready to go. Just start, do it, right? And for those of us who are maybe a little bit apprehensive about doing that, you'll find that making mistakes is a lot better than not allowing yourself to make any mistakes at all, right? By not doing it. So go ahead, get started, make those mistakes, ready, fire, aim, in a sense. I mean, aim in the right direction at least, but ready, fire, aim is a great strategy. Number 2, remember, we have the privilege to work online. We have the privilege to be here and connect with each other. We have the privilege, and other people around the world do not have that capability. So let's not let it go to waste, right? We have right in front of us all the tools that we need. We just need to keep going, stay motivated, stay on task in order to make progress, because other people, they don't even have that option. So let's focus on that too. And number 1, inspiration from others, accountability, perhaps mentorships or mastermind groups, other people around you who can help you, and finding those who are examples of where you want to be, right? Finding those stories and connecting with those people directly or indirectly who have already paved that path, who have already made those mistakes. That's where we can focus. Woo! All right. Perfect, because we have about 9 minutes left to answer some questions that you might have. So if you do happen to have a question, pop it in the chat. Just make sure to type in the word question in all caps. Or if you happen to be a member here with one of the names green, you have access to those emojis. You can use one of those emojis. By the way, we're over 100 members here, which is super cool. Thank you so much for the support. Polaris Project is going to get that membership fee this month, and we're going to help put a stop to human trafficking. So big thanks to all the members. We'll calculate that at the end of the month in terms of super chats plus the membership fees, and we'll be offering a donation to them as well. My family will be offering even more on top of that. But anyway, if you have a question, let me know. And hopefully this motivates you, right? It's Monday. Sometimes we approach Monday with yay, but sometimes we approach Monday with, oh my gosh, there's so much work to do, right? It's the story you tell yourself about the situation you're in that matters most, right? That's where we're focusing on. Chris says, Pat, how about a Find Your Why show? That could be a great one. I like that. Rhino Dog says, mind blown. Thank you. Finding your why. Yeah, if you don't know what your why is, and this is hard because it's going to be very introspective for every single person here, but we could maybe go over, a great way to uncover that episode might be to maybe either have guests on or show different examples of different people and their whys. I think sharing a number of different examples of our whys and how that has actually been put into practice and how one stays motivated within that why could be really interesting. I'd have to do a little bit of research, but I like that idea a lot. This was a perfect topic for a Monday. Thank you, Kara. That's why I was focusing on it. I was thinking about how I was feeling, and I was like, you know what? What would be an episode of the Income Stream that I would like to see? Because yesterday, it was a relaxing day, and I was like, oh my gosh, Monday's coming up. And I was like, okay, I could either approach it that way, like, oh my gosh, Monday's coming up. I have the Income Stream in the morning. I have these meetings. Or I can go, wow, Monday's coming. I have these meetings that I have access to. I have access to the community here, and I can show up and help and motivate more people. And at the end of the day, I have a live stream with my kids on Twitch, twitch.tv/hotcoalsonly. FYI, if you want to check us out live and say hello to the kids and be able to chat. It's funny because those live streams, they're very much a gaming session with my kids, but they're also part parenting along the way. I've noticed that in many, many cases, especially like the other day, my son, we got second place out of, 30, right? 30 teams, we got second place, and he was so upset that we got second, as opposed to, when we placed 25th out of 30, when we're playing squads, it's like, well, hey, how come you are more upset when we get further and we're even better than when we actually get eliminated earlier on? Wouldn't it be great to celebrate the fact that we got further and that we were so close, which a lot of other teams weren't able to do? And it's turning into like a parenting session as well, but beyond a gaming session, which is funny. Kathy says, question, refining your why. Use the 7 layers deep question. So the why, right? 7 layers of why. This is, I can't remember the exact phrase because it's a Japanese word, but it's a way that Toyota manufactures and helps their factories run. When there's a problem, they don't just fix it. They go, okay, well, why did that happen? Okay, well, why did that happen? Why did that happen? And you can get to the root levels of motivation, or in terms of Toyota and manufacturing, to the root levels of the problem, so that these things don't stem up anymore and it just becomes patches that you put over every single problem. Chris says, oh yeah, he needed a bit of adjustment. You handled it well, Pat. The hard thing is he's so motivated. He's so wanting to be a champion. And I think it's a great opportunity to, within video games, to teach him about these sort of moments where, hey, you might not win, but you're going to get close and we need to readjust. Shonda, good morning. I'm way late, but yesterday I accomplished so much around the house so I can get back to my other purpose this week. I can catch the replay. Thanks, Shonda. Appreciate that you're here. Question, I joined the membership, but my name isn't green. Do I need to do something to activate that? The membership here on YouTube, it should be all automatic. I don't know if maybe you signed on and became a member with a different name, but shoot me an email, Heart, if there continues to be a problem. But that it should just be automatic. You might also want to check in your subscriptions on YouTube. You can actually check your subscriptions to see if, in fact, it went through. It might have just not gone through. Question, motivation really being, does motivation really bring the result? Motivation is a mechanism that allows you to achieve these results. Without the motivation to do, you will not achieve. Just having motivation alone is not like, I can be motivated but still get nowhere, right? And I can be, somebody who provides all these strategies for myself and still not achieve. Motivation becomes the fuel, right? I can have fuel in my car to get going. Without the fuel, the car's not going to run, or without the electricity if you're driving a Tesla, right? But I still need to know what direction I'm going. I still need to know the goal and the destination. So motivation is the fuel or the electricity that we need to power ourselves to keep going. And that's the analogy there. I don't have a link for the workshop tomorrow. Will you share it? Yeah, I'm going to share it on Twitter immediately after this. So follow me on Twitter. I'll also post it on Instagram as a story as well if you're following me there. This is a good point with relation to my son, right? The closer we get to the top, the more let down we can get if we don't hit it, right? The more we taste it, right? So this does take, and this is how champions champion themselves, is yes, they're going to get frustrated, they're going to get excited, especially the closer they are, but we use that motivation, we use that energy. And in fact, what happened was my son got readjusted, and the next game he played, where he was finally like set again, he was absolutely on fire, and you could hear it just in the tone of his voice. He's like, I'm going to use this rage for good. And like, he just started doing really well. I don't know if y'all remember that, who were there live. Great initiative, sir. Love from Bangladesh. Thank you so much. We have a worldwide audience here. M. Asib Raihan, thank you so much. I appreciate you. You can check your channel purchases in the, or channel memberships in the purchases section of YouTube. Thank you, fun. Appreciate it. And to finish off here from Tim Jacobs, motivation doesn't last. Neither does bathing. That's why we recommend it daily. Right? We need to bathe, or we need to brush our teeth, right? So hey, y'all, thank you so much. We're gonna finish on this question from Elton here, who just asked it. Was rephrasing this earlier question posted, Pat Flynn, is there a way to deal with people who gave negative motivation if they are family members or bad coworkers who you can't avoid? This is a great question. Let's finish on this because we live in a bucket of crabs. You've heard me say this analogy before. If you put a bucket of crabs down, live crabs, you will find that none of them will ever crawl out entirely, because as soon as one starts to crawl out, the other crabs are going to grab that crab back down because they all want to stay packed together. And this is what happens in life, especially as you are more open about the things that you're trying to achieve and the goals that you have. It often will make people feel like, oh, why not me? Or, hey, you can't do that because I can't. And it might not be purposefully done. It's just in our human nature to go, oh, well, I need to protect myself and what I'm doing. So therefore, I don't want this other person to do something better or different that makes me look even worse, right? So whether that happens consciously or subconsciously, we live in a world where oftentimes we have access to, and unfortunately sometimes direct access to, and unavoidable access to people who will put us down. But here's the biggest tip that I've learned in my case, where I've been around people who have been negatively putting me down, and that is, hey, when it comes to business and stuff that I'm trying to do, I just don't bring it up with them. Right? I try not to bring it up, or if it isn't indeed somebody very close to me, I try to have a very honest conversation and ask genuinely for support, and not necessarily saying they have to actually, support me wholly, but just understand that this is a goal that I have, that I'm interested in, that I would love just at least their positivity with, and then having honest conversations from there. But for me, I think a lot of times we just put ourselves in situations where we're starting to talk about stuff, and then it, of course, just makes people feel deflated on their end, and they start putting us down. And then on the opposite side, it's like connecting with people like each other here. finding the people who, even outside of your immediate family or friend group who doesn't motivate you, find people who would, who will, who can support you. And you might not have as deep a relationship with them, but guess what? This is what I did. I found people who were in the same camp as me, and then I became friends with them. And some of them have now become my best friends because I've realized that a lot of these other people who were my friends, who wanted to put me down, who said, go get a regular job, that's not what a real friend would normally say, right? And unfortunately, of course, sometimes it's family, and that's okay. I'm just not going to talk about it with them. But with these people who are there, I want to connect with them as much as possible. Which is why I'm excited you're here. I'm thankful you're here. I appreciate you. Well done, everybody. Team Flynn for the win. And let's come back tomorrow even stronger with another topic. And thanks to all the new members. Thanks to the super chats. I appreciate you. And this is your day to get started and kick off the week well. 5-second rule, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You got it. Take care. And I'll see you tomorrow, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern. Let's do it.
This is the income stream to help you achieve your dream, all while we keep it clean. This is the income stream. It's the kind of show where you can come and go, but then you leave inspired with no fee required. The income stream with Pat Flynn.
Thanks, team. I appreciate you. And keep rocking it, man. Keep rocking it, because you got a lot of stuff to do, and there's a lot of people who need you. Let's stay motivated. Let's stay connected. Come back tomorrow. Thanks for being a member of the community. I appreciate you so much. And keep crushing it. Peace, y'all. Much love.
Bruh.
2 o'clock Pacific on Twitch, twitch.tv/hotcoalsonly if you want to join me and my kids. Peace out, y'all.